How's it going, traders? Welcome back to the Edge Lab. I'm Danny Naz, the Purple Wall Street, and each week I put together a focus list of stocks I believe are going to show the strongest setups and relative strength heading into the week ahead. And today we're going to walk through 10 of my top focus names for next week. I'll break down the key structures and momentum indicators and levels I'm watching so you can see how I'm approaching these trades. So just remember, this isn't financial advice. This is my process for identifying opportunities and managing risk. The goal is to stay disciplined, follow your setups, and be prepared for what the market gives us. All right, so let's jump into the first chart. Now taking a look at AER. And as always, white line is going to be your 21 EMA. The green dotted is going to be your 10 weekly EMA. And this week we're using TTM Squeeze, MACD, and RSI. Generally the three indicators that I look at just to confirm the setups that I find, right? And on AEHR, you've got a nice bull flag setup here over 118, which is your support resistance flip. You can see resistance came into this level. We gapped over that level right there, which is a really important indicator of a strong name. Now, I generally like to see a pullback to fill the gap before the go, but sometimes you don't get the pullback right away. It may happen weeks or months later. So what I'm looking for here, I think an entry on Monday at this level makes sense. I'd like to get it a little closer to the 21 EMA. So if we get a pullback maybe early in the session to the 21, that might be a good area to buy strength. If the market still looks weak and is pulling back, then yeah, I would look for maybe that gap fill play that I was talking about. We're obviously going to come into resistance here at the prior high, which is at 125.27, which is no surprise as at a 1618 extension from a prior swing high, swing low, right? There's your swing high, there's your swing low, here's your 1618. Very similar to the level we stopped at. Again, there are no coincidences when it comes to Fibonacci. If we break over 125, I think we'll have a good shot at 130 to 131 and then 138 to 132. Again, the purple lines represent fib extensions. The yellow lines, these are fib projections. A couple of things I liked about the setup. It's got a nice slingshot TTM squeeze. Although we are only 5 days into the squeeze, you can already see the momentum is starting to shift to the upside. MACD also flattened out. Looks like it's coming in for a potential curl and cross. And RSI is in a bullish range, which I like to see. So again, this one looks pretty good. I like the setup for next week. All right, next up is Bull. Don't think I need to spend too much time on this. We talked about this name last week. It had a pretty decent week. You could see a nice 5-day green. What was green on Monday, a little indecisive Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday for me was a very big candle. This was a bullish engulfing candle over the prior 2 days. And then I think just the market ran into us on Friday. But I still like the fact that we closed over the handle neckline. All right. Also has a TTM squeeze setup. Looks like a slingshot because it starts in negative territory and is heading into positive. I'm not showing it on the screen, but this one also has a multi-time frame squeeze, meaning there's a lot of time frames, at least 3 or more, that are showing squeeze setup. And in this case, it's the daily, weekly, and monthly. So all higher time frame squeezes. When I see multi-time frame squeezes on the higher time frame, I like to take contracts out 3 months or more. Anywhere from 3 to 6 months, I think, is appropriate for these higher time frame squeezes. MACD's already crossed over and in positive territory, so I think that's a good sign. And RSI is broken over 50, but not quite overbought yet. So again, really like the setup as much as I liked it last week. I still like it this coming week. All right, next up is eBay. This is not a new name for me, but it is a new name for the recent past. Where I'm looking at this potentially is in a 5-wave move up. Here's your wave 1, here's your ABC in wave 2, here's your wave 3, and here's your triangle 4. I'll talk you through this in a moment, but squeeze already setting up again, very similar to the prior one where we're starting in negative territory. It hasn't quite gotten positive yet, but it's very close. MACD is curled over, looking for a cross, and RSI just broke over 50 and back tested. So the indicators are telling me that this is fairly close, but we're not quite there yet, which means it could be this week. It could also be next week or maybe even the following week. So I was hesitant to put this one on because I just don't think it's ready, but I didn't want it to trigger, let's say, Thursday or Friday towards the end of the week and, in hindsight, look back and say I should have put it on the focus list. So that's why we're looking at it. A couple of things that stand out to me: this gap, right? To me, these types of gaps signal wave 3 activity. That got me really interested. And then when I saw the triangle setup, that tends to be wave 4. And so when I see a 4, a 3, I work my way backwards, and this looks like a 1-2 setup. So, again, this is not rocket science. I'm not going in and saying, well, okay, if this is wave 1, then this should be 1, 2, 3, maybe triangle 4, 5. I'm not doing all that, right? I like the way this looks. I didn't draw it out, but even, the channel setup here looks pretty good as well. So there's a lot of things I really like about this chart in terms of the setup, in terms of the technicals. And, I think this is going to be just a little bit about patience. So if we could talk through this setup here, a lot of times in the wave 4 triangle, you get a 5-wave move inside the triangle. So usually it's A, B, C, D, E. Now E might be in here. E can also come down here, and it can even come down a little further here into this gap. So we always want to be conscious of the gap below. But I think, it's possible that wave E terminates somewhere inside the bottom of this triangle. And then what we would look for is like a 1-2 setup. And then, we could buy wave 3 or take a stab down here using, maybe stop loss down here. So there's a couple of ways we can tackle this trade. But I do like this going into next week. The only concern, again, is the broader market. If the broader market is pulling back, it's going to make trades and setups like this even harder, especially when you're looking to buy potentially a pullback. So just be patient with this one. I don't mind buying a little after the move, right? We can buy maybe over these highs right here. We're not going to get the perfect entry, but I don't think we're looking for the perfect entry. We just want a manageable entry.